What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So the first thing I do want to mention in this video is you did probably see the title and you're probably like, well, Block, what do you mean let Solar Crown cook? This game has pretty much been in development for years. They had all kinds of delays and stuff like that. Where is it? Now, the reason why I do want to say I want this game to cook and actually be developed and the game actually take its time is because we can all agree right now there is not a lot of great games coming out with no issues whatsoever. For example, guys, right now, let me know in the comments below in the past 3 years, even 4, even 5 years, let me know in the comments of 1 or 2 games or even a few games that came out with no issues whatsoever on release. Also, I'm not talking about Elden Ring. That one's kind of like not part of it because that was one of the few that did not have any issues. But do let me know in the comments below of a few games that did end up coming out. I would say if I can name one off the top of my head, it probably is Helldivers 2. That game honestly was pretty dang impressive when it released and still is, and it's also holding a player base with way smaller of a dev team, which is incredible. Also, I do know Test Drive is going to have a smaller dev team than something like Motorfest, where some of these games like Call of Duty had thousands of people working on it. And then on top of that, though, we can also agree that there is probably a lot of games nowadays that you most likely jump into it on the initial release date, and you're probably like, yeah, what is this bug? What is this issue? I can't even log on console. Game's not working on PC or it crashes every time I do this level. And you're probably like, yeah, it most likely needed maybe around 6 months to a year. I'd rather the game actually be delayed than most likely having more issues. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. Like, that is probably going to be one of the truest statements ever. Let's be honest here, guys. If a game does actually get delayed, it will most likely be better when it does release, which is the hope and most likely optimism I have here with Solar Crown. Because at this point, though, we can definitely agree that a game coming out too early, or at least a game having a bunch of issues, is basically going to be a death sentence to it. Like, for example, guys, look at Battlefield 2042 when it came out. That really did hurt the player base. I also feel like in some ways, I don't want to say it, Motorfest is also going to be hurting because of this exact same reason. And then over time, they try to fix it and add stuff to it. But the biggest question is it actually going to be too late if they do rush the game out and then they try to fix it? I would almost guarantee that, yeah, that's probably going to be an issue. Now, I do want to reel this all back in here, though, and go over this tiny piece here in the newsletter number 7. Right here, guys, although a launch date has been considered several times, we want to take the time needed to ensure that your experience of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is as smooth, stable, as fun as can be. Many of you have already pointed this out to us. Take the time to release a game that matches your expectations. That's why we are flat out working on several aspects, including the stability of the server infrastructure and optimizing the game's performance. When we feel like these two areas are stable, we are delighted to share a long-awaited launch date with you, then cross the finish line and start our long adventure together. Now, the reason why I do like this small paragraph here is going to come down to a few different points. Number one here is going to be including the stability of the server infrastructure. Let's be real right now, guys. Almost every game has server issues when it comes out because it isn't optimized as it should be. And we can all agree like the game crashing or constantly trying to do events. Like, for example, in Motorfest, even to this day on PlayStation 4, it legit still crashes on like last gen consoles. Even for me going through parts or like trying to change out different affixed stats, I still find the game crashing here and there, even on PlayStation 5. And again, we are 8 months past the actual release and nothing has been fixed with that. That can probably be an issue, so I'd rather them take the time to go into it, most likely test out the stability and go, oh, wait a minute, who knows, maybe even millions of people getting on it. Then the game is most likely going to suffer and have issues optimizing stuff, so like, I do understand to the point of actually wanting to stabilize that and make sure the server infrastructure is going to be better. And at this point, I would almost guarantee everybody probably wants to see that, including myself, because so many games come out nowadays and you're like, it would be nice to actually log into it. Every time I log in, I crash immediately or I play it for 20 minutes and boom, I get blue screened. Or even sometimes on Apex recently, my game has actually been freezing so bad to where my PS5 has to basically reset itself. Legit that terrible. So I would almost say for them to actually delay the game, I know it hurts a lot of players, including me. Like, I honestly can't wait for Solar Crown to come out, guys. I'm mad excited for it. Sure, it's going to be online only, which to be honest doesn't bother me. I will leave a tag on the screen if you want to check that video out, but I also feel like something like this is a good thing that they're actually working on it. And what's kind of funny though is it actually brings me back to that other quote though, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. Let's be honest, guys, a lot of games nowadays really are kind of rushed, or at least come out and you're probably like, yeah, bro, really? Like this game needed like 6 months and then boom, the entire game's like life cycle or player base is going to be hurt because of that release. And then a lot of players are like, maybe they should have delayed it. Another really good example of this is going to be Dakar Desert Rally. Had a good time playing the game for a bit, but there were so many bugs and issues. And also in one of the trailers, they had like a livery or maker or something like that, which never even made it into the game until like 5 or 6 months after it came out, which I would say is going to be a big problem advertising something. And then it's not even in the game on release because of certain issues they had, or even they were like, you know what, let's go save this content for something else, let's take it out, add it into like a later update, that way we can keep the game kind of fresh or have other updates coming into it, which is definitely probably not the greatest way to release a game, and also most likely knowing that things are missing from it, and you're like, you know what, we can always add stuff later. I think players are going to enjoy it for what it is for right now, even though releasing playtesting like Solar Crown had, or even some of those early beta lobbies that Motorfest had in the beginning of it, is probably something I really do think every game should be doing nowadays. That way players can jump in, play it a bit, and go, you know what? Maybe this card needs some better handling, or wait a second, why can't I do this event? I'm not really liking the way the cars feel. Can you guys adjust the handling slightly? Or I can't even add this part to the vehicle because it's not letting me in the playtest. Even though normally a lot of the betas or playtesting can be like early versions of the game, at least sometimes they are for that matter, and other times they can basically give you like a beta, which is sometimes the game, no names here. But nonetheless though guys, I really do feel like letting Solar Crown cook is by far the best thing that can happen to it. But overall though guys, I do understand the game being delayed probably isn't the greatest feeling. Like all of us are really excited for it. We also probably want a new racing game to actually go explore a new map and also have like a new handling model and stuff like that, so I do understand it. And I can also see the frustration with having like an actual launch date not being a thing, and you're like, you know what, when's this game coming out, man? When is it actually coming out? We need it like right now. Then again, all of us do know what happens if a game is rushed or it probably shouldn't have released yet, and we really do not want that happening to Solar Crown because that's another game that is most likely going to fall into that pit to where you play it for a bit, and then it takes them around a year to actually fix the game and get it to where it should have been, and then most of the player base has basically turned into Casper, and it is a ghost town in there. But overall though guys, I do want to apologize for going on like a mild rant there, but man, like I just want these games to be great, which I would almost say everybody is most likely going to agree with. Like let's be real, I'd rather the game actually be delayed than come out half finished. We really probably cannot take another game releasing like that, my goodness. But besides all that though, I would like to know what you guys think about this in the comments below, and on top of that, I am planning on doing more Solar Crown videos, and I am definitely planning on covering it when it does release.